The Beach House is a 2019 American horror film written and directed by Jeffrey A. Brown in his directorial debut. Beach House got 5.4 stars out of 10, it's 81% fresh in Rotten Tomato, and the Metacritic score is 64 out of 100. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Sometime after an underwater event that releases gas, teenage couple Emily and Randall arrive at Randall's parents' beach house at a remote vacation town. Emily notes that the town seems deserted. After which Randall proposes to Emily that they stay at the beach house permanently, which would stop Emily from going to university. While washing her hands, Emily notices that the water has a strange texture and discovers a medical cabinet stacked with medication and signs of recent activity in the house, like unwashed dishes. While she explores the house, a woman enters. Emily hides and then goes to tell Randall, saying they have to leave. As they try to sneak out, they are confronted by the woman, who recognizes Randall. Apparently she is an old friend of his father, who has given her and her husband Mitch permission to stay at the beach house. Mitch, who has been out shopping for groceries, returns to the house and is introduced to Emily and Randall. Emily suggests that she and Randall should get a hotel, but Mitch invites them to stay as there's plenty of room. Emily sees a strange slug while smoking outside, and she and Randall get into an argument about him not talking to his father about them staying at the beach house, and about him suddenly leaving her after dropping out of school. During dinner, everyone except Emily eats oysters that Jane caught earlier. Emily reveals that she is studying organic chemistry and wants to become a scientist. Randall goes on a rant about the college system and issues at large, to which Jane tearfully responds that he should be more thankful. Having run out of wine, Randall suggests they all share some edible marijuana which he brought with him, to which Jane and Mitch agree. While high, Mitch also notices the strange water texture and Emily talks to Jane about the start of existence of life on Earth and wanting to go deep sea diving. Later they all see glowing microbes that are all over the beach and surrounding area that Emily notes are usually present in water. Jane leaves to see it out close but starts coughing after a while and gets disoriented when a strong fog starts to form around the area. After breathing in the fog, Emily becomes disoriented as well and passes out. She awakens to a sick Jane throwing up and goes to sleep. When she wakes up the next day, she finds a catatonic Jane sitting in the kitchen, covered in skin lesions. Randall and Emily decide to go to the beach, but notice it is completely empty and that Mitch is nowhere to be found. They lie in the sun, but while Randall gets sick to the stomach and rushes back to the house, leaving his phone and keys. After he goes to the bathroom, he sees the water from the sink forming strange patterns. Mitch suddenly turns up and tells Emily that something about the area feels off, and hints at Jane being seriously ill. He goes into the water for a swim but instead drowns himself. A panicked Emily goes to the shore and screams out for him, only to step into a washed-up jellyfish. It stings her and Emily sees a worm-like creature crawling in an open wound. She manages to crawl up to the house and remove the worm, which seems to be a jellyfish tentacle that is mutated. She gets ready to leave and stumbles upon a sick Randall, who tried to help Jane, but she comes out crawling out of her room with white eyes and a strange fluid coming from her mouth. They manage to lock her inside the house but she breaks the window and follows them. Not having the keys, the couple walk to the nearest house but find no one there. The fog comes back and another person comes crawling at them. The thick fog covers everything as night breaks and Randall becomes increasingly sick. Emily sees a flashing light and discovers it to be a police car with a radio inside, where she manages to contact someone. The person on the other end asks if they have been exposed and tells them to barricade themselves and to not breathe in the fog. They break into the house so Emily can look for the car keys. They find that the water is now a completely different texture. When Emily turns on the TV she finds an emergency alert system on every channel and a radio broadcast reveals that the microbes, which were preserved in rock underwater, were released by the Earth heating up. When Emily suggests they wait until morning, Randall confides that he feels like he is dying and that he is scared. Emily asks him to hold on. But when Emily goes into the basement to follow bloody footprints, Randall fully succumbs to the infection and after puking up more fluid and a strange creature, his eyes turn white. In the basement, Emily finds oxygen tanks for diving and concludes they can use them to breathe in safe air. Before going upstairs, she witnesses a fully infected person, completely mutated into a strange creature that is feeding on another person. Upstairs, she finds Randall and after he starts to follow her, smashes his head in with the oxygen tank. She finds the keys and drives away with the oxygen tank. With the fog making it impossible for her to see, she crashes into a tree, passing out. When she awakens she finds the oxygen tank stuck in the car and crawls out of it, landing in a puddle. After strange visions, we next see her on the beach during day, almost completely infected and repeatedly telling herself to not be scared. A wave crashes on the shore and she disappears into the water. Let's talk about some theories and lessons regarding this movie. In this movie, we can see the underwater rock microbes get released due to overheating, which is the result of exploitation of Earth. These microbes mutated Earth organisms. Emily tells that maintaining ecological balance is very important, cause this balance is very delicate. If we disturbs the ecology, the organisms of Earth cannot survive. Organisms released from ocean disturb this balance, by which environment and humans get affected. Only human is the reason for this imbalance. Deforestation, global warming, air pollution and many more. This film gives us a message that if we keep exploiting nature, nature may turn back on us. In the end, ocean waves takes Emily to the ocean. This scene gives us hint that those mutated microbes will take over Earth, by which the extinction of human race is inevitable. And a new life form will exist on Earth. Hope you will like my observation. Stay tuned with Riddle Man. Thank you.